Hello, it is I, Lucy. Why am I talking like this? I don't know. Hi, it's Lucy, and today I'm going to be doing a video on the series that I finished in 2018. In 2018, I did a similar video for 2017, so I decided to just do that, even though it's a little bit past the time for like last year videos, but whatever, I'm here now, take it or leave it. So in 2018, I only finished 4 series, so I'm also going to be talking about the series that I DNF'd, or a series that I just decided for whatever reason that I'm not going to finish in 2018. Like, I decided that I wasn't going to finish them in the year 2018, but I'm not going to finish them ever. Did that make sense? I hope so. First, I'm going to talk about the series that I did finish. These are in no particular order as well. They're just in the order that they were on my spreadsheet. The first series I'm going to talk about is The Winner's Trilogy by Marie Rutkowski. This trilogy is set in a low fantasy setting, which is like a fantasy world without magic. We follow one girl named Kestrel, and she is a Valorian, which is like a kind of warmongering culture, and she is the daughter of a very high-ranking general in their culture, and so her dad wants her to either join the army, which is like very favored in this country, or get married, and Kestrel doesn't want to do either. So she's like out wandering one day, and then she comes across a slave auction, because in this society, like when they conquer a culture or a people, they just enslave them. So the people who were on the island before them are now enslaved, and so Kestrel ends up at a slave auction, and she's like captivated by a slave, and so she decides to buy him, and then we go on from there. The first book, The Winner's Curse, I gave 4 stars. The second book, The Winner's Crime, I gave 3.5 stars. And the third book, The Winner's Kiss, I gave 3 stars. So if you average that up, the whole series would get 3.5 stars. I agree with that, I think. Sometimes, you know, when you average things, it's not really your feelings. I'll tell you if I'm gonna try and correct the average and let you know how I feel. Overall, I thought it had a pretty strong beginning, and then it just kind of metered out. What I realized is if I don't like the romance in a series, sometimes I grow to like it, but a lot of the time I don't, and that really puts a damper on the series for me. Because even if it's not a huge element, which in this series it is a pretty big element, like it just clouds the whole like story for me. So I think that's where this went wrong. Also, I thought the third book was a mess. Or this is the third book. I thought it was a mess. The Illuminae Files by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I actually own all 3 books in this trilogy, but I left them with my parents because they're really heavy and don't fit in a suitcase. The Illuminae Files is a sci-fi series, and basically it's a giant dossier of the events of an attack by a specific corporation in the future. It's set in the future in like 20-something, 2100 or something, or like past that. Like it's pretty far in the future. Like we've colonized a bunch of planets and stuff. It's a lot. In the first book, there is an illegal colony called Carenza that is owned by one corporation, and it's like a mining colony. I forget what they're mining. And then another corporation decides to attack the colony because it's illegal, so they figured they can get away with it. And so the survivors end up on a ship that is on their way to try and get help, but they can't call for help because a lot of their technology was destroyed in the attack. And so the 2 main characters are 2 teenagers who, like the day before the attack, they broke up, and then the next day their whole planet is destroyed. And so we follow like them dealing with everything that's going on. I feel like I'm not explaining it that well, but yeah, the first book, like I said, it's really good. The first book, Illuminae, I gave 5 stars. The second book, Gemina, I gave 4 stars. And the third book, Obsidio, I also gave 4 stars. I think when I originally reviewed it, I gave it 4.5 stars, but upon reflection, I realized that I only gave it 4.5 stars because I liked it better than Gemina, so I felt like it needed a higher rating. Maybe I should have lowered Gemina's rating, but I guess they're 2 different 4-star books, if that makes sense. So the average rating, when you average those stars, is 4.33 stars. So I would round down to 4. I think this is more of a 4-star series for me, which is really disappointing because I loved Illuminae so much. I really thought it was going to be like my next like #1 favorite series, and it's not. I don't know. It just time has gone on. I don't love it as much, and the second book really disappointed me. I did do video reviews for the first and second book and the third book, but it just wasn't as captivating as the first book originally was, or even the second book, because even though the second book had flaws, I thought it was very interesting and there was a lot going on. But I don't know, the third book was just like, not just okay, like it was better than just okay, but like within the context of the series, it was just okay. I think this is a 4-star series, and I would still absolutely recommend you read it. I am in the minority about not liking Gemina that much. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children trilogy series by Ransom Riggs. I don't know what it is. And also, I am not counting Map of Days because that should be its own trilogy. This book series is supposed to be over with a third book, so I am not counting it. I'm counting this as finished because I'm not going to read Map of Days, and I'm very upset about it. And Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children follows Jacob, whose grandfather always used to tell him these stories about these peculiars, and Jacob always thought it was just that, stories. But then when his grandfather dies in a mysterious way, Jacob starts to think that they're more than stories, and he decides to go to Wales, where his grandfather's stories takes place, and try and figure out what's going on. So the first book, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, I gave 4 stars. Hollow City, I also gave 4 stars. And then Library of Souls, I gave 3.5 stars. So the average rating for that would be 3.83. I think I would round it down to 3.5 stars, because once again, the romance thing got to me, and it does play a heavy part. I remember in Hollow City, it didn't play as heavy a part. I don't remember why, so it didn't bother me as much. But in the first book, it blew me away. Like, I was so in shock by what was going on. And then it was a lot in the third book, so I really didn't like it. And that really just is what brought down the series for me. So yeah, I think overall it's a 3.5 star series. But I did think, like, the whole idea of peculiars and everything was interesting. The Thousandth Floor trilogy by Catherine McGee. This trilogy takes place in the future, where Manhattan has been turned into basically one big skyscraper with 1,000 floors, hence the name. And for some reason, the class system is still intact. And so people who are rich live closer to the top, and people who are poor live towards the bottom. And we follow 5 or 6 teenagers, I don't remember, who live like spread out through the floors. And then at the beginning of the book, we find out one person has fallen off the roof of the building, which leads to death. It's 1,000 floors. And so we're following the teenagers to try and figure out how that happened. For me, it's like a fun guilty pleasure series. The first book, The Thousandth Floor, I gave 3.5 stars. The second book, The Dazzling Heights, I also gave 3.5 stars. And then the third book, The Towering Sky, I gave 3 stars. So the average rating will be 3.33 stars, and I would actually bump that up to 3.5 stars. I think this is a 3.5 star series. It is entertaining. I had a good time while reading it, and that is really what I was looking for. I felt like there were like plot holes and stuff, so if you're looking for like intricately like weaved plot and everything, you're not going to get that here. But if you enjoy like Pretty Little Liars or something to that effect, I think you will enjoy this. So those are the series that I finished in 2018, and now let's go on to the series that I chose to never finish ever. I could always take this back, but I probably won't. So yeah, I'm just going to go through them. They're in no particular order. Again, they're just in the order that they're in on my spreadsheet. So yeah, the first series is The Maze Runner Quintet now? I don't know. By James Dashner. I read the first 2 books in this series, and then I just found out that there was going to be, like, there's a prequel, and then there's, like, another 2 books, I think, that are, like, set more, like, other prequels or something. I don't remember. There's, like, going to be more books released in the series, and I decided I couldn't do it. I remember I enjoyed the first book. The second book I thought was really bad. So I just decided I'm not going to finish it, and I ended up watching the movie for the third book, which was really bad. So that really affirmed that I was not going to read the third book. Next, we have The Tricks duology by Ellen Hopkins. This is the one where the first book, called Tricks, follows 5 teenagers who end up having to use sex for money or something like that, which is like what a trick is, like you're turning tricks, is like selling your body. And it follows those people, and then I guess the second book is just like more of that, or like what happens after. But it's been so long since I read the first book, I have no interest in reading the first book again, and I feel like I'm kind of outgrowing Ellen Hopkins as a writer, so I just decided to not read the second book. The All the Wrong Questions series by Lemony Snicket. If you've been watching my wrap-ups recently, you'll know that I am rereading A Series of Unfortunate Events, but also by Lemony Snicket. And this is kind of, it's not really a companion to those books. Lemony Snicket is like a character, right? So it's following like the character of Lemony Snicket when he was a child. And I read the first 2 and they were fine, but I realized that I'm just never going to get to the next 2. There's only 4 in the series. I think it's a quartet. I'm just never going to get to it. And if I know anything from A Series of Unfortunate Events, it's not going to give me what I want, so. And if it does, I'll just spoil myself, I guess. Next, we have a couple of series where I read the first book, found out that they were series, or kind of knew they were series, but like went in with the intention of not reading the rest of them. So the first one of that was The Time Quintet by Madeleine L'Engle. The first book in this is A Wrinkle in Time. I don't know, I just have no interest in continuing on in the series. I didn't actually like A Wrinkle in Time that much, and I know that the rest of the books are kind of like companion books, or like it takes a couple books to get back to the people we meet in the first book. It's just not interesting to me. I decided to just read the first book. The Cemetery of Forgotten Books by Carlise Ruiz Zafón. The first book in the series is The Shadow of the Wind, which I thought was a really good book, but I had a problem with women, or how it was treating the female characters, and I have no interest in continuing to read that in the second and third books. And again, I know the second book is a companion and the third book is kind of a sequel. I think it follows them more in the future, but I don't need it. I thought the first book was beautifully written, but I just have no interest in reading really one-dimensional female characters again, like blatantly one-dimensional. And lastly, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. I knew going into the first book that I was probably not going to read the rest of the series, but just in case the first book changed my mind, but it didn't. I enjoyed the first book well enough, but I don't see a reason to continue on in the series, so I'm not going to. So those are all the series that I'm going to talk about in this video. I've been filming for hours now, so yeah. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any opinions about the series or any of the books that I mentioned in this video, please be sure to leave a comment down below. If you think that I should finish any of the series that I said I wasn't going to finish, you can leave a comment down below. Will I listen to you? I don't know, but we can always talk about it. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel because I make more videos where I talk about books, and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I post a video. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!